This is going to be a fun one, so buckle up. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos, and today we're going to have some fun. Infinity Ward was the studio that introduced the world to Call of Duty. You may or may not like that style that the studio has eventually pivoted to, but at the end of the day, we wouldn't have COD without them. But looking back at their entire library, what games actually were the best? What were the worst? Well, welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos, and today we're going to rank every single Infinity Ward Call of Duty game from worst to best. I'm going to do my best to factor every aspect of the game. Campaign, multiplayer, whatever third mode is, be it Spec Ops, Zombies, doesn't matter. So you let me know what you think the best IW Call of Duty game is in the comment section. Drop a like, guys. If you're enjoying the face cam footage with the COD History series, definitely let me know. Drop a like, show some love, make sure you're subscribed. At number 9, the worst game. Modern Warfare 2 2022. This probably isn't going to be a controversial take, but I really think Infinity Ward's most recent game was their worst. Modern Warfare 2 had some decent ideas in the campaign, but when it comes to multiplayer and third mode, it was way off the mark. And even though the campaign had some good ideas, the end result, it was average. It was average at best, and a pretty massive step down from the Modern Warfare campaigns that came before it. The story of Modern Warfare 2, pretty predictable, wasn't really, I don't think it was carefully thought out like the previous Modern Warfare campaigns were. Level design, decent, but there weren't many risks being taken. At the end of the day, the Modern Warfare 2 2022 campaign was a very safe and short campaign. And while there's nothing wrong with the safe campaign, it doesn't exactly bode well for a game as a whole in a ranking video like this, when it's going to be up against other stuff, right? I mean, the multiplayer, the really forgettable third mode, the multiplayer Modern Warfare 2, I'd argue, was worse than COD History. Blatantly catered towards campers. Infinity Ward was very clear about the fact they wanted the skill gap to be as small as they could, as small as humanly possible, which led to an experience that was incredibly frustrating to play if you had been playing COD since the Golden Age, like you and me or most of us here. The map design, cluttered, unfocused, dark, gun balance all over the place. Unlock and leveling system, not very good. And the rework of the perk system was completely unnecessary, seriously. I don't know whose idea it was to have you earn your third perk in the middle of a match, and then there was the third mode. What can you guys tell me about the third mode? Do you remember what it was? Modern Warfare 2's third mode was this weird iteration of Spec Ops. It served as a mini sequel to the campaign, but it was significantly worse. I mean, it was. Level design, absolutely no replay value, which was frustrating for a mode called Spec Ops. I mean, I remember when the Spec Ops mode was awesome. Co-op challenge modes. You could play for hours on end without getting bored. Modern Warfare 2 goofed the formula to a ridiculous degree, to the point that I don't think 95% of the people watching this video even touched it. I don't. So what we have here is a Call of Duty game with an average campaign, not great multiplayer, and a completely forgettable third mode that might as well not even been in the game. Yeah, I think this is Infinity Ward's worst game. I'm not saying you can't enjoy the game or that it's impossible to enjoy, but we are ranking Infinity Ward's games from top to bottom. Something has to be at the bottom. I don't think there's going to be a lot of arguing when it comes to this one. I really don't. Next up at number 8, we have Modern Warfare 2019. Now, I have a really weird opinion of this game. On one hand, I totally understand that Modern Warfare 2019 was the game that got a lot of people back into Call of Duty after years of not caring about the franchise. I can also 100% agree with the praise that the single-player campaign gets. Seriously, the campaign in this game is excellent. I won't deny it. But when it comes to the multiplayer and Spec Ops, I can't get behind it. I'll start with the positive things. The graphics, incredible. Sound design, some of the best in franchise history. The writing in the campaign, it was good. It was really good. Level design of the campaign was great. Blended the more open-ended levels of classic COD with more linear approaches of later CODs. But the multiplayer, it was the exact opposite of what I wanted from the game. And Spec Ops was just straight up bad. It didn't even work when it launched. While I want to rank the game higher for the amount of care that went into the presentation in the campaign, I can't do it in good conscience because, I mean, I just can't. How much I hated the multiplayer in Spec Ops. I hate's a strong word. How much I disliked it. We also need to remember that a lot of the really annoying trends in modern Call of Duty, like the skill-based matchmaking and the disbanding of lobbies, the over-reliance on Gunsmith, the catering towards campers, and the removing of dead silence, it came here. Even the cluttered maps that discourage aggressive playstyles. All that annoying stuff really ramped up here. So, while the campaign was great and the presentation was amazing, I just can't rank the game any higher than 8. I can't, because of all the issues I had with multiplayer in the third mode. I hope you guys see where I'm coming from. I really do. At number 7, Call of Duty Ghosts. Now, Ghosts was Infinity Ward's first new IP in 6 years. It's pretty clear. They want to do something super different. Set in the near future, featured a very dark color scheme and almost a gray color scheme, had a brand new third mode called Extinction. We had aliens in Call of Duty. Now, Ghosts got a lot of heat from the community when it came out, But I'm ranking it number 7 compared to everything else because there was a few things that it did well. And at the end of the day, I think it was overall a much more enjoyable game than the new Modern Warfares. The campaign of Ghost was interesting, had some unique characters, had conflicts, but the overall conflict was one of those things you weren't really supposed to think that hard about, because if you sit back and put some thought into the overarching conflict taking place in Ghost, it was kind of ridiculous, even by COD standards. It's definitely a bit of a weird feeling going from tightly written conflicts of Modern Warfare to the ridiculousness of COD Ghost, and that's not even mentioning the incredibly unsatisfying cliffhanger that ended and never got resolved. COD Ghost 2 never happening. Then there was the multiplayer. Huge departure from the established COD formula. Giant maps, super slow game pace, lightning quick time to kill. Basically made every game hardcore. There were some solid maps. A lot of longtime players put COD Ghost down and just went back to Black Ops 2 or Modern Warfare 3 though. And I get it, because they were good games. Then there was Extinction, which had some really good ideas, super unique, but didn't really have much replay value the way Zombies or Spec Ops did. So was Ghost judged too harshly? Yes and no. I think the campaign was decent enough. It was fun. Extinction was also pretty fun for a couple hours. Probably needed some more time in the oven. But the multiplayer is what really kills the game, because it was so incredibly slow-paced and there was a ton of baffling design decisions. You had the SATCOM replacing the UAV. The maps were gigantic despite the team sizes being 6. The IED being in the game at all. So on and so forth. But Ghost did have fun. It had value. Mainly in the party games like Gun Mode and Infected, and the slow pace actually made it really good for competitive play since the stakes were a lot higher and it made the matches more intense. We had some very, very good competitive play that year in esports with Ghost. We really, really did. So if it comes down to personal preference, I'm going to be generous. I don't think the game can be ranked higher than 7, because even if you really loved the game and enjoyed it a lot, you got to admit there was a lot of things that weren't that great. You're allowed to enjoy Ghost. You're allowed to enjoy any of these games, but there's no denying that it was a massive step back in quality compared to the other Infinity Ward titles that came before it. And if you think me putting Ghost at number 7 was rage-inducing, get ready for this hot take, because here it comes, and you probably already know, but I have to. I have to. At number 6 today, Infinite Warfare. Look, I know a lot of you are going to be mad at me for this, and I get it. I do. For ranking it above Ghost and the recent Modern Warfare games, but let me explain. My reasoning for this really comes down to 2 things. The campaign and the third mode. And I'm going to level with you guys. I really did not like the multiplayer of Infinite Warfare at all, and I definitely put way more time into Ghost multiplayer. So I'll agree with you guys that Ghost had a more enjoyable multiplayer experience than Infinite Warfare. But you know what Infinite Warfare had over Ghost? Way, way better single-player campaign. One of the best COD campaigns we've ever got. And a way better third mode in the form of zombies. The Infinite Warfare campaign is excellent. Heck, I'd even call it probably top 2, maybe top 3. I don't know. Characters were great, set pieces amazing, space battles awesome, technology unique, and all in all, I think it's one of the best campaigns IW has ever made. Then you had the third mode, Zombies. Honestly, really fun, even though a lot of people weren't happy with the goofy tone and total disconnection from Treyarch's storyline. If you just go into Infinite Warfare Zombies for a fun FPS experience, you got it. And I can confidently say it was way better than Extinction Mode thanks to the improved replay value and more varied gameplay. So no, Infinite Warfare's multiplayer wasn't for everybody. But the campaign and the third mode, they were really good. I'm going to happily argue that it deserves to be ranked above Ghost and the rebooted Modern Warfare games. If you don't agree with me, we can have a debate. Maybe we'll do a live stream and we'll debate it out if you guys want to. You let me know. At number 5, Call of Duty. This is where it started. And as much as I wanted to rank it higher thanks to the legacy, I do have to be honest and fair, and that means I have to acknowledge the fact that the gameplay hasn't aged quite as well as some of the older school Infinity War games. Don't get me wrong. Call of Duty 1 is still a very well-designed game, and the campaign is aged okay. The maps, multiplayer design, they're also good on paper, but everything was held back by the simple fact the game was released in 2003, people, so there's a bit of the early 2000s jank that you have to deal with if you're trying to play it today. But with all that being said, Call of Duty 1, one of the best shooters of its time, and it's honestly pretty amazing that Infinity Ward managed to make something so bombastic, so tightly designed, with such a young studio. This was their first game. The AI in the game is honestly super ahead of its time. The level designs, they were good. Call of Duty 1 really makes you feel like you're part of a large-scale battle in big open areas, despite the fact that it's rocking 2003 character models and explosion effects. When it comes to multiplayer, surprisingly good, extremely different from the other COD games. Obviously much more stripped down than later COD games, but the map design, it was good. It was clear that Infinity Ward cared about what they were making. Certainly didn't play like later COD multiplayers, but you could still see the foundations of what was going to come in the future. So while certain aspects of COD 1 have not aged amazingly, other aspects are really good. And overall, I think it deserves to be ranked number 5. There really aren't any bad design decisions in the game. The only criticisms you can make of it are that it didn't age super well, which, I mean, that's not the game's fault. It was 2003. Now we're at number 4. Modern Warfare 3 2011. Now, this may be a surprising placement, but let me explain. I've said several times, I think Modern Warfare 3 is one of the best Call of Duty multiplayers of all time. But here's the thing. Infinity Ward didn't make the multiplayer. Sledgehammer did. I mean, following the massive lawsuit between Activision and Infinity Ward, much of the original IW team quit before Modern Warfare 3 entered full production, forcing Activision to bring in Sledgehammer Games to develop the multiplayer, while the remaining Infinity Ward members, they made the campaign in Spec Ops mode. So, for the purpose of this video, I can only judge Modern Warfare 3 based on its campaign in Spec Ops. But here's the thing. The campaign of Modern Warfare 3 and Spec Ops were excellent. I mean, it wasn't as intricate or story-heavy as the first 2 Modern Warfare games, but that's not bad. It's less of a military conspiracy story, more of a bombastic action movie, and it's honestly really good at doing that. The set pieces? Amazing. Graphics honestly hold up well to this day. I have no idea how they did that, but they did. And then we move over to Spec Ops. We were treated to one of the best co-op experiences in Call of Duty history, hands down. You can't argue with me. The co-op missions and challenges, very well designed. Super fun to grind high scores, but what really sold this version of Spec Ops was the introduction survival mode. Oh man, let you spawn in to any of the 16 multiplayer maps, fight off wave after wave of enemy fighters, use your cash rewards, guns, kill streaks, set up your strategy. Basically, Spec Ops Survival was Infinity Ward's take on Gears of War Horde formula, and it was fun. Modern Warfare 3 certainly would have been in the top 3 if the multiplayer counted, but since Sledgehammer technically made it, I had to be fair. At number 3 today, I'm going to go Call of Duty 2. Released in 2005, COD 2 was one of the best reviewed World War II games of all time, and even though a lot of modern Call of Duty fans have never taken the time to experience it, let me know in the comment section, have you ever played Call of Duty 2? Be honest. There's no denying, it's well worth it. The number of improvements made over the original game is insane. The game holds up extremely well to this day despite being 20 years old. The Call of Duty 2 campaign is split into 4 parts, with each one following a different perspective, 1 American, 1 Soviet, 2 British. This allowed Infinity Ward to portray World War II with an insane level of detail and scope back then. It really let you get a sense of how massive and layered the conflict actually was. The gameplay was excellent, the level design was great, the environments, the immersion, all of it was fantastic, and the sound design, it was really good. But then we moved over to multiplayer. Call of Duty 2 had some of the best FPS gameplay on the market at the time, and did you know this game shipped with 13 maps? Don't get me started. Yeah, this game from 2005 shipped with more multiplayer maps than a lot of the recent COD games have. Go figure. The gameplay of Call of Duty 2 is obviously much more stripped down and raw than games that came after, but that doesn't matter. It's polished. Everything in the game is there for a reason, and even though the multiplayer is pretty much dead, you should still play through the campaign. It's still one of Infinity Ward's best. You can find some multiplayer lobbies from time to time, but you just kind of have to take my word for it. The design of COD 2's multiplayer was top-notch, and between that and the campaign, I feel like it deserved to crack the top 3. At number 2 today, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Wow. It changed everything. Released in 2007, it was a turning point for the Call of Duty franchise and the FPS genre as a whole. It's almost insane how much COD 4 innovated both as a sequel and a console FPS game, and the impact it had, the legacy, it cannot be understated. For starters, you had an incredible single-player campaign that focused on a couple different perspectives of modern military conflict on 2 different fronts. They were both heating up until they reach a shocking boiling point that forces our heroes to start taking more and more drastic measures to ensure the world doesn't completely collapse into nuclear war. The mission design of COD 4, it was great. Takes the large, somewhat open-ended style of COD 1 and 2, but it tightened the screws up. It tightened them up. Gave you a bunch of fun gadgets and guns to play around with. Also cranked up the tension in certain parts, like the iconic, all gillied up sniper mission. The insane race against the clock before shocking, we got a nuke sequence. And on top of all that, you had a bunch of awesome characters. You had Price, Soap, Gaz, many, many more. Then you moved over to multiplayer. Had one of the most innovative FPS experiences in gaming history. COD 4 introduced the world to custom classes, kill streaks, perks, ranking up guns for attachments, headshot challenges, gun camos, and I don't even know what else. And on top of all that, the map design in COD 4 was amazing. Yes, there were some stinkers, Block and Overgrown, but then you had the all-time greats, Vacant, Crash, Shipment, Bog, and many, many more. And on top of all that, you also had the extremely underrated arcade mode that let you play through certain sections of the single-player campaign, but with various modifiers to make it more of a challenge. Call of Duty 4 had it all. It was not only an extremely innovative and influential game, but it honestly holds up super good to this day. The multiplayer, still one of the most polished and fine-tuned in the entire franchise. The campaign, still one of the top 5 best in Call of Duty history, and yet I think Infinity Ward topped it one more time. And if you've been paying attention and made it all the way through this video, you already know what our number 1 Infinity Ward Call of Duty game of all time is at number 1. Modern Warfare 2 2009. This game has it all. When I think of Infinity Ward's identity as a Call of Duty developer, I think of the original Modern Warfare 2, and I think it's the best representation. Honestly, I think COD 4 is a more tightly designed game overall. But so much of the Infinity Ward COD formula was solidified in Modern Warfare 2, and there's a very good reason why this is the game that turned Call of Duty into a blockbuster franchise. For starters, the campaign, top-notch. Took the framework of the COD 4 story, expanded upon it with the characters and conflicts, added in elements of military conspiracy and insane plot twist, and these things are still considered to be some of the best in gaming. The set pieces, I use the word bombastic again, over the top, yet you still felt the tension of the situations in the game you were in. It was the perfect mix of a ridiculous action movie and a tense military mystery. Then you move over to Spec Ops mode. You got some of the most addicting co-op challenges the Xbox 360 and PS3 had to offer. How many hours did you spend trying to beat your high scores on these missions? And then, of course, multiplayer. I've gone on record before saying I don't actually think Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer was the best in the series, and I really wasn't a fan of how explosive it was since everything was overpowered and broken. I'm someone that prefers the Call of Duty games that are more about the gunfights with longer TTKs like Black Ops 2, but at the same time, I can recognize all things about Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer that made it the all-time favorite for millions of gamers around the world. Custom class system, extremely thought out, kill streak system, super addicting to put in the hours and get better at the game so you could get those higher tier streaks. And even if you hated the gameplay of Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer, you can't deny the maps were incredible. This is one of the best lineups of launch maps of any multiplayer FPS game in history. I said it, the number of iconic maps in the game is insane. Rust, High Rise, Terminal, Favela, Skid Row, Wasteland, Quarry, Scrapyard. I could go on and on and on. Modern Warfare 2 may have had its issues, especially on the technical front. But if we're talking about Infinity Ward's best work, I can't argue. This is it. This is the best. Let me know where you agree. Let me know where you disagree. Rank them down in the comment section. I'll see you soon.